Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? Just a quick show of hands. Did anyone attend a similar session last year? Oh, good. So we have new folks. That means the old ones then come back. Well, just to make sure, this is AppExchange for Life Sciences, where the cloud meets compliance. Before we get started, I'm going to acclimate you to reading this slide again and again through the rest of the few days. Safe harbor statement. Please do not make any decisions, especially financial decisions, based on anything you hear today. Only make financial decisions based on things that are available from Salesforce now. A little bit about myself. I have the opportunity to manage the healthcare and life sciences part of our ISV program here at Salesforce. We have a great set of partners that we have developed over the last few years that are bringing relevant solutions to the market for life sciences. We're going to talk in the session today about what is the AppExchange, what does it mean to the life sciences market, what are some of our partners doing in the life sciences space using the Force.com platform, and we're going to talk to a couple speakers towards the end of the presentation to give you a real dose of why customers and partners are continuing to choose the Force platform to build solutions for life sciences. We've been working with partners since 2006, about 8 years from now, and by all measurable standards over the last many years, we've been fairly successful with this ISV program. It took us about 6 years to get 1 million installs, for example, of our partner apps from our ecosystem at customer sites. And by an installation, I mean one implementation. Could be a handful of users, could be thousands of users. And then we actually doubled that 2 years later, which means the program has quite a bit of legs to it. The solutions we've been bringing to market as a whole within the ISV program are relevant, and our customers are adopting them pretty fast. Along the way, we also had one of our partners from a few years ago that went public last year, Veeva, in the pharma CRM space. Hopefully some of you are users of that system. You like it. And the number that's really impressive to me is by putting this ISV program in place, we have actually had our partners generate over $1 billion in revenue over the last 8 years, which is really, really impressive. Now, the session today is about life sciences. There are some basic things we already know about life sciences, right? We know what's happened to the blockbuster drug model. We know there is tremendous cost pressure to bring down costs to bring a drug to market. We know that regulatory exposure is greater and greater. It's showing up in more and more corners of the world on an ongoing basis. So we know those things. Something happened a couple years ago, which was the Affordable Care Act. And I think to quite a few people's surprise, that had a fairly significant impact on the life sciences industry as well, right? In terms of how are you going to act with your physicians today? How are you going to make sure that you're not getting into regulatory trouble in terms of trying to give them little tchotchkes here and there, and just some intricacies that were introduced because of the Affordable Care Act. So given this scenario, when we at Salesforce think about life sciences, we look at it from a technology perspective, right? We have quite a few folks here who understand the industry, but we look at it from a technology perspective. The Salesforce platform, what can we do to bring relevant solutions to the ever-changing market of life sciences? And this is the area when we think about is do we do it ourselves or do we leverage our partners? And invariably, we have looked at our partners who have deep domain expertise to bring relevant solutions to market. This is really the area from our core products when you look at Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud, and other offerings we have. To extend those offerings and extend the Force.com platform, we created the AppExchange. And this is really, there are some really important numbers on here that I want you to focus on. We have about 2,500 apps today on the AppExchange. If you've been there, the number seems to go up every day. It's probably 2,500 plus right now. I talked about 2 million installs a couple of years ago, or last year we had 2 million installs. We're at 2.6 million installs. So the ecosystem and the adoption of the ecosystem keeps on growing. The number that strikes me quite a bit is we have roughly 150,000 customers at Salesforce, and 71% of them today have at least one AppExchange app installed in their environment. Now, something new that I learned this morning at the keynote is that 23% of our customers actually have 5 or more apps installed. That's a lot of apps and a lot of customers, over 40,000 plus, that have adopted applications from the AppExchange. So what makes this special? what really is at the core is it's about trust. We approach every application that ends up on the AppExchange through our team, our technical team. We make sure that these applications are secure in nature. We put them through the rigor of the way we put our own applications through in terms of testing them for security, make sure they have the ability to deliver this message of interconnected apps. And that is one of the core reasons we believe why customers are adopting apps from the AppExchange. You always have an option to develop custom apps, and there's a lot of that goes on as well, and there are some legitimate reasons to do so. But adopting apps from the AppExchange brings a certain level of trust, sort of like certified by Salesforce kind of a trust that is making our customers adopt these applications. Now, we talk about 2,500 applications. I don't think there is, in anyone's sane mind, any company needs 2,500 applications. The reason we have so many apps there is trying to pursue this whole idea of fit, right? You have an organization of a certain size that has certain requirements. For the same kind of operation, you may need a real heavy-duty application or maybe a really light application to fill a need. So our job within the ISV program, within the life sciences and the healthcare group, is to give you as many Lego blocks as we can. We think we're giving you these Lego blocks that you're going to assemble into some sort of a figure that's going to help you attain your needs around your process. So when we think about life sciences, the way we recruit partners into our ecosystem are very specific to things that are relevant to the industry. We're thinking about compliance needs. There are a lot of compliance pressures you have. There are a lot of regulations you have to meet as a life sciences company to report to regulatory authorities. What are the applications that are helping you do that? Let's go out and recruit partners and ISVs that are building those kinds of applications so you can extend your investment in the Salesforce platform. Similarly, regulatory affairs, clinical, these are now areas where Salesforce traditionally has not been strong in, right? So this is where our partners' value proposition comes in. So not only we look at the needs of the industry and recruit appropriate partners, we also try to make sure that we present to them a set of technologies that are going to keep them ahead of their competition, right? We succeed at Salesforce when our partners succeed in the market. One of the latest examples right now is Salesforce One, our mobile platform, and you're going to hear a lot about this. I think the recurring theme over the next couple of days is going to be, can you run your business through your phone? And if so, we have over 300 applications out of the 2,500 I talked about on the AppExchange that are currently Salesforce One enabled, and this was all done within 6 months. So it not only talks about Salesforce having a finger on the pulse of what's important to the market in terms of technology, but also the ease of adoption of technology, and that's where a lot of our ISVs are excelling. Now, let's talk a little bit about the AppExchange. If you have not been on the AppExchange, quick primer, go to Google Salesforce AppExchange. It should be the first hit. You go on there, and what you're going to find is on the left side of the screen, many different ways to be able to parse these applications. You can look at them, you can look for free apps. You can look for net new apps. What's the latest one that came to market? You can sort them by industry. This happens to be a screenshot. If you sort by life sciences and healthcare, this is the screenshot you're going to get, and there are a couple pages of applications that are available. Now, when you do go there, what are you going to find? I'm going to talk a little bit about some relevant applications to the life sciences industry that we have brought to market in the last year and a half. Let's start with virtual regulatory solutions. Content management during regulatory submissions and assembling your submission to do an ECTD. It's onerous. It's not difficult. It's very onerous and it's very complex. So Virtual Regulatory Solutions adopted the Force platform to give you an application that helps with e-submissions, right? Assembling your submission before you send it to the FDA. And it has an inbuilt DIA reference model, things that are relevant to the industry. That's part of the value they bring to the table. US data management, we're going to talk about them a little bit more. Whenever you are dealing with a compliant process or a compliant application, you need to make sure that that application is validated in your environment, right, or for your environment. US data management is a partner of ours that has quite a bit of experience in validating Salesforce or Force.com based applications. They do that for custom applications. They do that for our core products, which is Sales, Service, and Marketing Cloud. And now they're starting to work with our ISVs to create validation packages so that if you adopt one of those applications, you have a way to validate them for Part 11, 8, 28, 21, and whatever that might be. Here is a quick sample of some of the validation packages that are already available from US Data Management. ServiceMax, I'm going to talk about that or ServiceMax, Medvantage, I'm going to talk about that in a second. DocuSign, I think a lot of people know that, as well as Canandi ERP. The next one is really interesting. One of the areas we have been focused on is to move the Force platform into non-traditional areas that Salesforce operates in, and clinical is one of those areas. Value Solutions has a complete clinical trial management system, which by all accounts can be as good as a Siebel eClinical product. And they have not only incorporated your traditional CTMS capabilities and integration back into any trial master file, but they have taken it a step further. It's an integrated investigator portal, and they're using our social technology to do patient recruitment for clinical trials. Real interesting application. Has been in the market for about 5 months. 123 compliance. One of the, if you look at the kinds of partners we have small startup companies that are bringing disruptive solutions to market, and then we have larger companies that are looking at the power of the Force platform and adopting that to change mature markets. So 123 compliance is a good example of a small pesky startup, as I call them, that came to market about a year ago, and they have been competing head-to-head against companies like Sparta and Pilgrim and actually getting wins in top 10, top 20 pharma companies. So a small company with the power of the Force platform really being able to address a QMS market, which has been pretty stagnant for the last many years. KOL, again, another area around compliance, right? KOL used to be a few years ago, well, I have a speaker, I have a program, I need to manage them, make sure I give them, what do you call it, the fee that I owe the speaker, so on and so forth, but now there's a compliance component that goes along with it. So OpenQ has a product called Engage that focuses on providing KOL capability to extend your existing CRM system, may that be something like Viva or something like pure Salesforce, or for that matter, any other CRM product. Cognizant, an example of a large company that saw the value of the Force platform, a $15 billion company that's looking at the Service Cloud solution from Salesforce and saying we really need to be able to extend that to address specifically field service and medical devices. So they've brought a solution to market that sits on top of our Service Cloud offering, and it gives you the capability as a medical device company to do compliant field service, and actually they have been able to integrate that process into the Sales Cloud product we have to be able to do invoicing at the point of service. Big deal. Data. Health Market Sciences is one of our partners for about a year. They have a provider master file. They're right now working on a claims data solution, which now, through the app that they have on the AppExchange, can suck data directly into any Salesforce org. And then you can manipulate that data and use it for anything you want. IMS Health. We're starting to do more and more work with IMS Health. They have an e-learning application. It's one of their initial forays onto the Force platform. And what IMS Health has is an e-learning solution which can help you track and manage your certifications for any kind of learning. It could be your manufacturing folks, could be your Salesforce. You can basically keep track of where they're in training. Are they compliant or are they not? So there you go. Sorry, I'm looking at the right side of the screen. Now, that was just a small sample of partners. If you go on the AppExchange, you'll find a lot more partners. Now, there are 2 reasons why we believe our program is being successful. 3 reasons. One is obviously customers are adopting these applications, so we continue to have the work to do. We have ISVs that continue to come to us and want to add up or put their applications on the Force platform, and then we have end customers who continue to adopt these applications. So we're going to talk to a couple of people to give you a little dose of reality as to how this is playing out, how the program and the results of our program are playing out in the market. I will initially invite Chris to come in and talk about a new upcoming regulation in the medical devices space. It's a unique device identifier. He will talk about what that regulation is. It's getting kicked off right about now. What were some of the challenges that he needed to solve to to have Covidien compliant with those regulations? And why did he choose one of our partners, US Data Management, to jointly develop a solution which we believe is first of its kind and ahead of the game when it comes to the UDI regulation? And then after Chris, I'll invite Nigel Whitehead. He, again, represents our partner community. Nigel is the CEO of AHM Software, and they are focused on HCP compliance. He's going to talk about the drivers that he thought about before they adopted the Force platform as their go-to-market technology. After Chris and Nigel speak, we will open up the floor for Q&A. I'm hoping we spend most of the time doing Q&A. That will really help you get sort of under the covers into what these guys are thinking. So with that, Chris.
Thanks, Riju. Thanks, Riju. And thank you all for coming past movies like Gone Girl, which is a wonderful movie. I checked those seats don't recline like the movie theater I saw it in, so hopefully you're all still with us. So I'm Chris Wagner, and I cover sales operations and marketing operations for Covidien. We're a medical device company, and what I'll talk about is a partnership with USDM around the unique device identification program from the FDA. And that's a program that for a while now, many years, has been hiding in our clinical group, in our regulatory group, in our IT group to make sure that we meet the regulations. But I actually think there's a lot of commercial application here, and that's what I'm going to talk about today, is how we can enable our sales forces to take advantage of that with the app we're working on. So a little bit about Covidien. Covidien is a worldwide company. We've got direct sales in most parts of the world. Where we don't have that, we have distributors. We're on a single instance worldwide of Salesforce. So we're on Sales Cloud, and we have 6,000 users on the same instance. It's been really powerful for us to be on the same instance. It requires governance, and it requires that we actually talk to each other. But we have friends all over the world now who are doing great work that we've been able to leverage in the U.S., and that they've been able to leverage outside the U.S. I have Gary Dow here today, who happened to be, for some reason, wanted to come listen to me yap away. Gary, say hi. He's from Australia. His team in Australia, the VP GM for Australia, is doing a great job down there, and we've actually taken some of the work that they've done and brought it into our instance. So it's a challenge, and governance is required for a global instance, but it's been really powerful for us. So UDI, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, Unique Device Identification is the regulation that requires med device vendors to put a barcode on their products and publish that information to an FDA database. That database is going to be publicly available. So you can imagine the power that could come from every med device product sold in the US being available in an open source database that we connect an app to that we share with our reps. So the primary goal with the FDA here is patient safety. So what does the FDA want? They want us, the med device vendor, to be able to pull in products, should we, on the unlikely event of a failure of our medical device, we know which lot numbers we need to pull in, and we can do that more efficiently with this database. But there are a lot of applications for it outside that as it becomes an open source. In fact, how many of you folks are in life sciences, healthcare in this room? Pretty much everybody, right? So all of us are going to have to be compliant to this program. So you probably know about it. But what we're trying to leverage right now is some other applications for that. There's going to be a lot of information in the database that's associated with our products. As the reps interact with this information, as this product makes it through the supply chain out to our customer sites, if we had an app that our reps could utilize to tag the products as being placed in that customer or that hospital, then we have a geolocation of that product. So now we know where in the world all of our products are going as the reps take the product out of their trunk stock. So that's what we're going to talk about more, is it's a trunk stock app that we're putting together with USDM. And I'll jump to how that looks, because that's the more fun part when I've been in the audience like you all, is seeing what it looks like. So it's in development right now. We're just kicking that off because the FDA program is not even fully live yet in terms of available to all of us. We've spent many years making sure we're compliant to it. But everybody familiar with trunk stock? So a rep is assigned products. The products go into the trunk of their car. They can take them into a hospital to show them to a surgeon. In my case, I'm in the surgical division. So we spend all of our time in scrubs in an OR chasing surgeons down the hall, trying to get 5 minutes with them. The products are in their hands, and they start in their trunk. They take it in the hospital. If that surgeon agrees to utilize that product in a case, in a procedure with a patient, or just to show the surgeon, the rep will take that out of their trunk and use this app to scan that. The app then certifies with the Cloud Assurance Database from USDM as a certified device, and we now have a geolocation of that product that we can then track where that's gone. So it's pretty powerful stuff there. Consignment inventory, so not a use case for my group necessarily, but some med device companies leave product on consignment, meaning it stays at the hospital until that it gets used at the hospital. So that's an application here where a rep could transfer that to the hospital. Things like latex and other product attributes are available in the database, so you have the serial number, the SKUs, all sorts of really powerful information, as well as complaint handling. So reps today either pick up the phone to submit an FTR, a field technical report, when a product fails in the field or there's an issue with it. Tomorrow they would be able to use this app to do that as well. So why USDM? Well, they've been in the space a long time. In fact, they have folks from the FDA who are part of the organization that were part of this UDI project, Jay Crowley. So they have the expertise for many years in validation. They now have the expertise around the UDI project, and they're an obvious partner for us to work with in this vein. So with that, I'll hand it back to you, my friend.
Yeah, you need to. This is a really good case study, right? You have a really large company that has a global footprint that is looking for deep domain expertise that one of our business partners brings to the table, and attach that with the power of the Force platform, the Salesforce. I hope you noticed the Salesforce One mobile part of it. You attach those three things together, and then you have a pretty compelling solution that can be taken to market. Now, again, US Data Management obviously chose the Force platform to build this application. They found a development partner. Now I want to invite Nigel to talk a little bit about AHM's journey around thinking about their business, around HCP compliance, and the decisions they made to be able to adopt the Force platform for their business. Nigel?
Thanks, Reggie. I guess he is. I was going to ask you whether you could switch this on. I guess you did. Thank you. Can you hear me okay at the back? Yep, thank you. So, AHM, some of you may know us, some of you may not. Been in the business 14 years. We basically, historically, have managed speaker programs, promotional educational programs that pharmaceutical companies run with a handful, 10, 15 attendees and a speaker. I'm going to skip 10 or 11 of those 14 years. When we built that business up, we do a lot of meetings, we run a lot of meetings, a lot of consulting engagements, advisory boards, and we do it across, we've actually managed them across 90 countries. So we had a good 10 years, we had a good 11 years, and then as Riju said, the Affordable Care Act came in and everybody got a little bit nervous around transfer of value. So we at this time built what I'll call pseudo-custom software applications, .NET based, for a number of large, mid-sized pharmaceutical companies. And we suddenly got met with a challenge that they presented to us, which was your systems need to be more flexible. They need to have a lot more compliance controls built into them. They need to be global. Transparency is not just a US criteria, it's global. And by the way, we need all of that, we need it at a lower cost. So we spent probably 2 or 3 years adapting our custom systems to accommodate different types of interactions, not just meetings. And many companies have added those incremental interaction types into our system to reduce the amount of data integration they have before they submit to state and federal governments. But that was getting a little bit difficult. Great system, worked very well, still does, very robust, but probably not as flexible as it needs to be. So we had to make a decision must be 18 months ago now, about how we were going to address these criteria. And we chose the Salesforce platform. Regia's going to ask me a question maybe later on that I'm going to answer now. So that's just beating him up. And I can't not address this without getting to it. And he's going to ask me about the requirements for such a system and why we made the choice to go to Salesforce. Well, if you look at all of this, you need agility in the technology. And in our current system, we've built some very good skills around how to adapt and configure and customize our technology. And our customers are continuing to do that. But we don't have the agility. We don't have the business agility that our customers need to adopt to these four rapidly in a global environment. We've historically done work predominantly in the US. We're now getting requests, can we set up in a series of few weeks, maybe, few months, systems in China, systems in, I think the last one we had was South Korea. But we want one system. And Chris raised a good point earlier. It's all about governance. And can you scale from a US-specific custom-built technology to become global with all these different attributes? And our answer very quickly, we came to the conclusion, was no, we can't. So we started building out, there were a lot of IP in these systems. We started building on the Salesforce platform probably about a year ago. And we developed what we call Centris Direct, which is a compliance platform. We have modular components that sit on top of that, which are best practice, industry best practice configurations around event management, around a speaker portal, an HTTP interaction portal. And we have other modules that we'll be introducing. The other piece that we really like about Salesforce is, and again, I think Regia mentioned it, around what I think using the phrase used, custom apps. We have one customer right now who we are partway through a project to implement basically a speaker bureau solution, our best practice module on the Centris Direct platform. We have another customer who's more focused on compliance, and we are building with them a combination of custom apps and our industry best practices. So it gives us the flexibility to work with the IT groups within a company, but also rapidly deploy best practice solutions. So ours was really a process of, we were very successful for many years, but suddenly the market requirements just exploded. And many of you sitting in this room probably have experience at least equal to and almost certainly better than mine around the problems that can cause in an organization. So it was a big transformation exercise. How could we very rapidly move from a focus on product come custom apps, a lot of customization on the standard base, to a very flexible, agile, cost-effective, compliance-based, multi-language, multi-currency, deploy anywhere in the world. How could we do that? So we chose Salesforce. And is there anybody from Covidien in the room? You guys from Covidien? Give them a shout out. They're the Salesforce recommended developer group that worked with us to build this out. You never finish these solutions. The more we actually show to customers, the more want us to develop. Very pleased with the decision. And come along to the booth. We're in the industry showcase area, and we can show you some of the applications that we've developed in the last 12 months. Thank you.
We have about 9 minutes left for Q&A. Okay, of 9 minutes left for Q&A. I do have a question for Nigel. It was not the one he thought it was going to be. And I have one for Chris. I want to kick this thing off, and please have your questions ready so we can have a good conversation. Nigel, as you adopt the Force platform, you're going to market to your customers with a completely different approach on how you're going to charge them for the service. From as much as you can share without divulging proprietary stuff, from a financial construct or the financial mechanics of your profitability, how do you see that shift based on how you did business previously and how you might be doing business now with a per user per month type of a model, which is how we go to market?
Well, it's certainly going to help our profitability, but I think it's also going to help the cost management of our clients, which is more important. Some of the custom work we do today, unlike others on a similar platform, it gets very expensive to keep coding custom applications. And as well as we do it, and as good as the results are, customers have pressure on price. So the economic model we have is different, so it takes some consumption by the customer, but it's much more cost effective. So once they're familiar with it, and given the number of apps on the AppExchange, it's becoming more common for people to use Salesforce apps. It's probably 1 out of 4 customers we have to do a little bit more explanation, but they understand the value proposition, and we don't see any barriers to adoption at all.
That's great. And this has been, in a traditional industry where the model has been buy, implement, upgrade, buy, implement, upgrade. This is a very different way to go to market. We have in life sciences the benefit of having Veeva sort of broken that mold a few years ago. But again, it's kind of nice to hear that from you too, Nigel. Chris, a question quickly for you. Device tracking is a big deal. In terms of having the Force platform, how do you think this will improve any metrics? The solution around the UDI app will improve your metrics around device tracking moving forward?
Yeah, so as we look at device tracking, one of the things that happens occasionally is that devices walk away. Reps have busy lives and sometimes may forget that they've put a product at a customer site. We have over $10 million worth of inventory of our product at any time in the US at any given point. And the requirement, it's a paper process today, so the requirement to use an app of this type is really going to help us get a little bit better control on that, as the rep is responsible for this product. And so if it disappears, this will be their way to, that's the sort of the driver of adoption, is that they bought it if they don't use the app to tell themselves that they've given it to the customer. So I think that'll help us control that a bit more.
Okay, great. Let's open this up. I think any of us can take any questions. There's one there. There's one here. Well,
this is another UDI question for Chris.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge, of course, is the non-sterile implants. And we have a significant challenge with little tiny things being replenished in consignments, as you mentioned. How are we going to accomplish this in the market, or you just think we'll just jump right to sterile devices?
Where does sterile devices fit in the class of med devices? Is it 1, 2, or 3? It would be a class
implants.
3.
Yeah, implants.
Yeah, so it's in the first phase. So how are we going to get there? How are we going to get the reps to utilize an app like this, or
how can we physically get the individual stock number, lot number off the items?
Yeah, good question. So the way we're handling that is that it's at the box level. So when it comes out of the box and gets pulled into the sterile field by the OR nurse or the OR tech, that's where it leaves our ability to do so. So if you've got you have multiple in a box.
Think about an orthopedic screw system.
Yeah. So it's at the box level. That's the requirement. So when you get out of, like our suture comes in boxes of 12 or boxes of 30 or what have you. We're not trying to get to that level at this point. It's just when it's the box making its way through the supply chain is the level the FDA is requiring right now.
Yeah, we just have racks full of 100 screws.
Yeah.
And it gets sterilized 15 times.
Oh, yeah. Do you have any better answer for that? I don't know if I have more to add there.
No, that's it. I mean,
It's one of the USDM. This is one of the USDM experts here. So yeah, I mean that's a challenge for those devices. Look, the FDA I can only speak for the FDA, but they're just trying to make it better, and this is their first step in that foray, and it's taken us and the med device industry several years to even get this far, to be able to get the same type of barcode language on all of our boxes for all vendors or partners in the industry. So I hear you. That's a challenge. I don't have a better answer for that.
Right here. Go ahead.
There may be a question for both of you. I'm not sure which one would be more appropriate, but as you go through compliance regulations, is there any sort of pattern that came up with issue?
What type of pattern?
Were there certain pattern of issues that came up with compliance?
Issues.
Yeah, so we have two main issues related to out-of-box failure. Are you talking about issues related to compliance? I don't have a feel for that. Do you have?
Compliance with the app or the application?
What type of compliance?
Well,
Go ahead. This is Jim. Murray, you want to introduce yourself?
yeah, I'm Jim Murray with USDM. Yeah, so on that side of it, that's one of the solutions that Riju was showing here earlier with our cloud assurance apps, which are validation packages where we actually have gone through and working with the AppExchange partners and going through and creating IQs, OQs, PQs, requirements, stuff like that. And then you're going to get hit with 3 releases a year, or the AppExchange partner might have their own release schedule. We're working with them to update those packages along with qualifying the platform as well and auditing Salesforce and their data centers and their development groups to make sure that they've got good standards in that, and we make that all available through our application.
Good question. I can hear you if you.
Can you hear me anyway?
Yeah.
So obviously with winning product side versus direct and distributors, if you're using distributors, how do you incorporate that adoption through the distributor channels? Because they all have kind of their own homegrown systems, as we all know, right? So how do you get that compliance across the distributor channel?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the question is about distributors and how you maintain compliance with that subset of your channel versus your direct sales. In the U.S., we're 99% direct, and that's where the program starts. So it's not a challenge directly there. How I envision that, though, is we have different partners around the world. In Australia, we're all direct with Gary's team. But in China and India, where we have large distribution networks, we have community portals that they utilize. And how I would see that is, since we're on a single instance, we could push the app we're working on with USDM out to the distributor community with limited access to the whole database. So especially in China, we want to give them just their territory that they're responsible for, but we would absolutely give them access to the app and hold them compliant to using it if China requires it, since it's a U.S. regulation right now. That's how we handle that. Are you distributor in the U.S. as well?
No, I've
Yeah.
heard that
Okay. Yeah, good question. Yeah, thanks.
All questions are answered. There are no more left. We good?
Yeah.
Well, the clock struck 0 as well. Well, thank you very much. I hope this was valuable. Please go to the AppExchange, go take a look at the Healthcare Life Sciences tab, see if you find something interesting. You can always reach out to us. I have business cards if you have any additional questions, maybe offline. And I hope you have a great Dreamforce. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.